Garrett Tenney, who has the latest from Washington. Garrett?
Well, Arthel, this afternoon, attorneys for Christine Blasey Ford once again informed the Judiciary Committee that she is willing to testify next week. The letter states, quote, Dr. Ford accepts the committee's request to provide her firsthand knowledge of Brett Kavanaugh's sexual misconduct next week, although many aspects of the proposal you provided via email on September 21st, 2018 at 2:33 p.m. are fundamentally inconsistent with the committee's promise of a fair, impartial investigation into her allegations, and we are disappointed with the leaks and the bullying that have tainted the process. We are hopeful that we can reach agreement on details. Now, our attorneys then asked to set up a time to continue negotiating the terms of her testimony this afternoon, particularly the timing of that testimony and the format. Republicans had offered to hold the hearing on Wednesday, but Dr. Ford's attorney said she couldn't be in D.C. until Thursday at the earliest. So, in essence, this letter is really just repeating what her team has already said, which is something Republican Senator Orrin Hatch noted a short time ago when he tweeted, "Worth noting that this is exactly where we were on Monday morning. Without agreeing to a date, time, and terms, we are no closer to hearing from Dr. Ford than we were when her lawyers said Dr. Ford was willing to testify during their media tour 6 days ago." Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, who also sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee, just released a statement praising Dr. Ford's courage for agreeing to testify, though, and said in part, "I will support her steadfast bravery against the arbitrary, unfair, irrational constraints sent by Chairman Grassley. I remain deeply disturbed by the conduct of my colleagues over the last week and am committed to ensuring that Dr. Ford's safety and security is made a top priority." So at this point, it appears the ball is back in the court of Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley as to whether or not these negotiations will continue, which in essence, and once again extending the deadline for Ford's team to decide if she'll testify next week. Arthel?
Garrett Tenney, thank you very much.
The Democrats are at it again. They have more moved up their sleeves. You can't take your eyes off of them for even a split second. Turns out the reason Kavanaugh's highly controversial accuser wants to have the meeting Thursday is so that the Democrats can possibly preclude Kavanaugh from joining the court on 10/1. Christine Blasey Ford, the California psychology professor who has emerged to accuse Judge Brett Kavanaugh of groping her in high school over 35 years ago, wants to move Monday's scheduled hearing to Thursday instead, among other demands. There is only one possible reason that Dr. Ford and her attorneys could want a Thursday hearing, not Wednesday, as the Grand Old Party has now counter-offered, or Monday as originally scheduled. A Thursday hearing could preclude Kavanaugh from joining the court for its new session on October 1st. Dr. Ford has until Friday to respond to the counter-offer. Here is why. The earliest that the Senate Judiciary Committee could vote for Judge Kavanaugh's nomination to be considered by the full Senate would be Wednesday afternoon, if the hearing takes place. That would likely mean the earliest that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell could introduce a motion to confirm Kavanaugh would be Thursday morning. The Senate would then have 24 hours before a cloture motion Friday morning. Then there would be 30 hours of debate, meaning that the earliest that the Senate could vote to confirm Kavanaugh would be Saturday afternoon or evening, September 29th. But if the hearing were Thursday, the earliest the full Senate could vote would be Sunday evening, September 30th, with just hours to spare. That would create the very risk that a vote might not be held before October 1st, if procedural roadblocks arose, and they would. And some wavering Republicans might be uncomfortable voting to confirm a Supreme Court justice in the dead of night. Theoretically, Kavanaugh could join the court after October 1st. But once the court began its fall session, the Democrats could argue that there is no rush to confirm him, that there should be more investigations, and that the president should let voters decide in November. That would turn the midterm elections into a referendum on the court, and potentially create a huge political opportunity for Democrats, and a problem for McConnell and the Grand Old Party, who promised a confirmation on time. Republican moderates could start to waver, effectively defeating the nomination and infuriating the conservative base. That is why Thursday is so important to Democrats. It also looks less suspicious than demanding a hearing on Friday or demanding Republicans postpone the process for weeks or more. There is little doubt Ford is coordinating with Democrats. On Thursday, Republicans released the audio of a conference call held by the Liberal American Constitutional Society in July with Democratic strategist Ricky Seidman, who is now one of Ford's advisors. In it, she laid out a strategy to defeat the nomination. I do think that over the coming days and weeks there will be a strategy that will emerge, and I think it's possible that that strategy might ultimately defeat the nominee.
But let's get back to the latest developments on Capitol Hill concerning the Kavanaugh confirmation process. And for more on this, we're going to bring in Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. And Congressman, I want to get your reaction to the goings-on in the other chamber concerning the Kavanaugh hearings and Dr. Ford's anticipated testimony.
Well, I think we haven't really moved the ball forward. I think the fact that she wants to testify or has indicated a willingness to testify is kind of where we were at the first part of last week when this was starting to really break and get legs. And without confirmation of date, time, methods, it just looks to me like a stall tactic in many ways. And I understand why they want to do it. I would urge the Senate. I mean, the hearing's already over quickly. I think you should go ahead and vote on Monday. And see if she shows up on Monday to testify.
Well, now, Congressman Biggs, as you pointed out, the details have not been ironed out just yet. But at early word, what we have this afternoon, we know that through her attorney, Deborah Katz, that Dr. Ford is asking to testify on Thursday. Do you think that is a fair amount of time to give Dr. Ford to wait until Thursday?
I think that we've already, I mean, these allegations were sat on by Dianne Feinstein for a long period of time.
To bring back in Joel Rubin. He's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State under President Obama, now the president of the Washington Strategy Group, as well as John Funn, who's columnist for National Review. And gentlemen, as this story has been unfolding this afternoon and so many questions are swirling around here, I want to get your fresh thoughts right now at 4:10 p.m. here Eastern Time. John, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm old enough to have done a lot of reporting on the Anita Hill situation. And she was very brave. She agreed to testify despite the trauma that she'd experienced. And she agreed to testify without all of these conditions. She had a legal team that was top-notch, that included both moderates and even a couple of Republicans advising her. It wasn't monolithically left-wing like Professor Ford's advisors. Her charges were 9 years old, not 36 years old. She comported herself well. She was very courageous. The contrast between the behavior of Ford's advocates and supporters, and I think how they've politicized this, there was politicization under Anita Hill, but Anita Hill's case and the way that our team handled it is far better than this case.
Let me push back a little bit, or just follow up. I'm not pushing back. I have no sides in this, just for the record.
Well,
We're
I
just
was there and I
reporting the
reported
news.
on it extensively.
Right, but I want to couch my question better, John. So I want to ask you, though, listen, that was before, excuse me, Anita Hill and that whole scenario was before the Me Too movement. And so does that make a difference? And it was also before the prevalence of social media and 24-hour news cycles the way it is now. So are you intimating in any way, John, that the way that the folks for Dr. Ford are handling, her representatives are handling this case, that they are somehow mishandling it and using it for political gain?
From their point of view, they're handling it brilliantly, because this is both an accusation that has to be taken seriously and something that is clearly political. All you have to do is look around the people advising her. They're all either former Obama, Clinton, or in the case of Mr. Bromwich, her new lawyer, Andrew McCabe's own personal attorney. So if you can't see a political angle here, as I said last hour, I have some bridges to sell you.
And Joel, what do you make of it? There are allegations of politics at play here. What do you say to that?
Well, we're talking about the United States Senate, and that is a political body. And the venue right now is one that is driven certainly by politics. But we have to remember that this moment is judging Judge Kavanaugh he's going to be judging us potentially for 3 decades. So this needs to be done right. And I agree with what John is saying about Anita Hill and the hearings and the process. Why can't we have a similar process to what we had back in 1991? Why is it that the committee is not calling for the kind of process that gives people confidence that this kind of a discussion will be handled properly? Wait, I'm sorry.
Well, how is the committee? What is the committee proposing right now that is substantially different from the format that Anita Hill had?
Yes.
Tell me specifically what is different.
Absolutely happy to. First and foremost, the committee is denying opening up the background investigation to ensure that we have as many facts as possible that can be used to provide support to the witness testimony. That was done in the Anita Hill hearings. Why is it not being done now?
It was done before the name was leaked. It was not done after the name was leaked. The whole FBI process was
So does
shut
that
down
matter?
as soon as the name
Excuse
was
me,
leaked.
John. Hang on, Joel. Let me ask John a question. Does that matter, the point you just made, John?
Yeah.
My point was, give me the substantive differences between how the Anita Hill hearing was conducted and what the committee is proposing today. He has named one, which is frankly not the case and is incomplete. I'm waiting for the second example. I'm waiting for it.
John, not only did I give it to you, but
it's wrong. So give me the second example.
John, what you're doing is you're rejecting the facts. The facts are that there was an additional investigation and that
it stopped. It stopped as soon as the name was leaked.
John, it's not possible for you to judge what I'm saying if you're not letting me speak. So what I want to communicate clearly is that not only is there an FBI investigation background that needed to take place, but there were also additional witnesses, expert witnesses, and corroborating witnesses. Why are we not having this committee lay it out in such an open, transparent manner? That's the problem here.
We have to leave it there. Joel Rubin, John Funn, I thank you for joining in on this very touchy conversation. Sexual abuse is not funny. It's not political. It's very personal. And also attacking someone's reputation without, erroneously is also a very egregious act. So let's hope the truth comes out for the sake of our system and the American people. Thank you both.